Thank you all for joining me on this fine day. For the next 20 to 30 minutes, I'll be talking about my personal experience with the USMLE Step 2 CK. And when I say personal, I do mean personal. Everything that I'm going to talk about is based on my experience and the way I see the USMLE or dealt with the USMLE. It by no means are rules that people should follow. Everybody should do what they're comfortable with. But this is my take on it. So I hope you'll find this helpful. And let's get it started. Alright, that's me. فرعون من يومي. I'm 26 years old. I graduated in 2009 from Alexandria University. I'm half Egyptian, half American, and that explains a lot. So I like oud music, and I'm into old Egyptian music, none of the new stuff. I like Kulthum, Abd al-Halim, Sumbati, stuff like that. Of course, I love traveling. I think almost everybody does. And I play tennis. And also, I like to learn languages. I find it pretty stimulating. I got into medical school through the IG. If I had went to Sanawiyya Amma, I probably would have never gotten into med school because I'm really bad at Arabic. So, yeah. And this is the first time for me to do a PowerPoint presentation in my life. So, bear with me. Alright. In my opinion, the USMLE is combined of three main factors: personal, family, financial, and other factors. And I just put family and financial factors together because to me, and I think to a lot of Egyptians who are doing the USMLE, they are the same. I mean, your father is the bank, unless for the small part of people who actually go to America, get a job, and support themselves through the USMLE. But I think the majority, the family, equals the money. So, first thing I'll talk about, I guess, the family factors. It's really important that your family is going to support you, not only financially, but to motivate you and to give you everything you need emotionally, I guess. And because a lot of people, especially in Egypt, their family doesn't want them to leave, they don't want to grow old without their son or daughter near, all stuff like that. So it's really useful that from the beginning of your experience with the USMLE to have these things clear and have a good idea and give them a good idea how your future is going to be like. Also, they are going to need to support you, and it's not easy that after 6 or 7 years of med school that you graduated and they're waiting all this time for you to start working and start becoming independent and start earning your own money, and you tell them that they're going to have to support you for another 2 or 3 years by the time you finish the USMLE and actually get a residency in the US. It's not easy. A few small words about financial factors. The USMLE and getting to America takes a lot of money. Like, I'm applying in this match this year, the match of 2013, and the tests by themselves plus travel to America, that would cost, like, I'd say $5,000 to $6,000 minimum. I applied to about 140 programs. The only sending out the application costed about $3,000. The interviews that I'm going to do in America, hopefully maybe 10 to 15 interviews, I'd say collectively at least $5,000 to $6,000. So you're really gonna have to prepare all that money and make your family aware that you're going to be needing that kind of money. So yeah, that's all about this. Personal factors. As a person, you really have to be motivated to finish what you started. The USMLE is not easy, and the USMLE, a lot of people think, and I was one of these people, that you just go, you study and you take the test, you pass, and all is good. Then you go work in America. No, I mean, studying is one thing, and it's hard and difficult and everything. The tests are hard, but even after that, you need a lot of other factors to come into play to make you a good candidate to get into a good residency in the U.S. I'll talk about those other factors later. You also have to be ambitious. Uh, in America, I think the people who are going to interview you, or the people you're going to work with in general, they like ambitious people. They want to see that you have a goal and that you're working towards that goal. And they want the goal to be something big in general. To give back to the community, to do some research that will change the course of medicine, to teach in an academic setting. You really have to be an ambitious person. Also, studying for the USMLE and getting to America, you need to be tenacious. Tenacious means you have to be persistent. Not one day that, yeah, I want to do the USMLE, and the next 2 or 3 days you study and you find it's hard and you don't remember these things that you're studying and stuff, so you just say, okay, well, I'll just do something else. I'll go to England, or I'll go to Germany, or I'll stay in Egypt. You have to be persistent. And another thing is perseverance. And a definition I found that I really think sums it up is a day by day decision not to give up. As I was saying, the USMLE is hard, and not only the USMLE, but once you put the decision down that you are going to America, you have to keep on it. Don't give up. It can be done. Lots of people have done it. It is difficult, but in the end, the reward is great, I guess. Anyway, other factors. So I think other factors, other than studying, that you have to focus on even before you finish college, even before you start the USMLE even. You need to have research done. Published research is the best. You need to get some US clinical experience. And just as a side note, for anybody who's watching this that is still in college or still in MTS, you have to get your US clinical experience now, because after you finish college or MTS, you are not eligible to get electives, which are hands-on experience. After graduation, after you get the Shahadat al-Kartoon, you are only eligible for observerships, which are hands-off clinical experience and does not carry the same weight as electives. So, my advice, it is very important that while in medical school, while in MTS, get electives from the US. I'm not going to talk about how to get those electives. There are a lot of videos and a lot of documents on the internet and on EMTAR in specific for your needs that will show you the way how to get electives and stuff like that. But keep in mind that you have to do it. Other than the US clinical experience, you're going to need to do volunteer work. Americans in general like people who give back to the community. Even if you're organized in doing volunteer work that is not even medically related, like the Rotary Club. Less than 25 years old, it's called Rotaract. Be a volunteer, participate. You're going to learn a lot of skills in that time, and hopefully you're going to help a lot of people. So that's a good thing. Other volunteer work that you could do is go to clinics that are المناطق النائية والحاجات دي. What else? Help in orphanages, help in elders' homes, stuff like that. Yeah, so that's probably all the other factors. So next slide. Okay, and this is we're gonna start to focus now on the USMLE and how to study, especially for Step 2 CK. These are my credentials. I did pretty good in the tests, and if anybody's wondering why step 1 was 99 and step 2 was 90. It's because they changed the scoring system. So yeah, even though I did better in step 2, it's still a 90. And also there are some slides on the group that explain this difference in score. Alright, so we're going to enter the world of USMLE Step 2 CK together. Let's go. So materials, that's the first topic I'm going to talk about. Firstly, what I used for materials are books, videos, and questions. And the occasional thing on the net that I want to go into details, I search it, I watch videos on YouTube, anything like that. Google it. So books. Kaplan books are, I think, are the baseline for the USMLE. It does not have everything in it, and no book does have everything in it. But I think that Kaplan is the most complete, even though they have a way of repeating themselves a lot and going around the point. They're not to the point 100%, but still I think it is the best way to build a base, either step 1 or step 2. Okay, the second thing, master the boards 2 and 3. And people are gonna ask me, do I have to study step 3 for step 2? I would say you have to study some chapters from step 3. Like internal medicine in Master the Boards 2 is good, but gynecology and obstetrics and surgery and pediatrics, they are incomplete in step 2. So what I did is I bought both books, Master the Boards 2 and 3, and I added the last chapters, the pediatrics, surgery, OB-GYN, I added them to step 2 to make it complete, because like gynecology in step 2 MTB is only 10 pages, and that's really not enough. You have to take the whole chapter from gynecology in step 3 and put it right after gynecology in step 2 and study the whole thing. And a good thing is that I felt like they complete each other, step 2 and 3. So you're not going to be repeating the same pages or the same topics. Alright, so Master the Boards, in my opinion, is the best book there is for step 2. It's not complete. There are a lot of topics left out, important topics, but still, it's written in a way. Conrad Fisher did a great job in organizing, in formatting, in editing. It has what you need to know. If I used that book to review before the exam, because all the other books that I used, I would put any additional information that wasn't in Master the Boards 2, I would put it in it. Like say I'm studying from Kaplan and I noticed that something was missing from step 2 Master the Boards, I would add it on a sticky note, in the margins, anywhere. If I was doing questions and some new piece of information that was not written in Master the Boards, I look up the chapter, I go to the page where they're explaining that topic, and I add it. Active learning is the best kind of learning, not just reading. You have to make an effort to make things stick. Okay, first aid for step 2. I did it, but I wouldn't recommend it. I really didn't like it. Even though I used first aid for step 1 and it was great, it was very focused, very to the point, but for step 2 I would not recommend it. I did not like it at all. It doesn't cover all the important things. It's not as focused. It's all bullet points. Yeah, I didn't like it. Step up for step 2. I'm talking about here Step Up for the Boards, which is another book that I used. It's not great, but it's not that bad at the same time. And I used it especially while I was going through some videos called Doctors in Training, or DIT. I'll talk about that later. But on the forum, on the group, some people told me that there is a book called Step Up to Medicine, or to Internal Medicine, something like that. I'm talking about Step Up to the Boards, which is not that great, and I wouldn't get it again, or I wouldn't do it again unless you're going to do doctors in training videos. Okay, so the videos that I saw. I personally love videos. I feel like I remember the topics and the material more if I see it and if I listen to it. And it is, to me at least, a nice change hearing the things completely in English and not by an Egyptian professor, because let's face it, the pronunciation of the words is different. The way that they handle a lecture is completely different. And Kaplan videos I started with, I was using it with the Kaplan books. I would watch the videos and then go to Kaplan book and revise the chapter that I finished in the videos. And did I do step 2 and 3? Yes, I did, because step 2, it gets like topic by topic, let's say like lupus, and then rheumatoid arthritis, and then Sjogren's syndrome. It's like that. Step 3, they give you a case, and then the differential diagnosis, and then what investigations you're going to do, and then what treatment. So it is the same content but put into a different format. And step 3, the format is what you're going to see on the test, because the test is going to ask you, the question stem is always going to be a patient or a scenario, a clinical scenario. It's never going to say lupus, what is the most specific antibody to diagnose lupus. They don't have questions like that in the USMLE. They have questions that you need to think about, 2-step questions. So I think that step 3 videos are good, even when you're studying for step 2. They don't have any new information, no additional information. It's the same information that's in step 2, but put in a different way. So I liked it. Doctors in Training, those are the videos that I was talking about. It's very concise review, and it's based on the book Step Up to the Boards, as I said. This is really just to summarize. It's very exam oriented. Even the doctor who explains it is always saying, oh yeah, this comes in the test a lot, this you have to focus on. At the same time, he does like these mini quizzes while he's explaining. So it's good, but don't do them by themselves. I mean, if you have the time, do it. If you don't, okay, it's not such a big deal, but Kaplan is more important. I also did some videos from the Internal Medicine Board Review. Those were when residents finish residency, they have an exam, like step 2, I guess, called the ABIM, American Board of Internal Medicine exam. So these videos were for that exam in specific. They are a little too detailed for this exam, but as I said, I love videos, so I would watch anything that fell into my hands, and I had time to watch it. So I don't remember the name of those videos now exactly, but if anybody wants them, they could send me a message or something, and I'll get the name and tell them. Alright, last but not least, I did the comprehensive cases. Conrad Fisher, the author of Master the Boards, he's a great doctor in my opinion, and I like the way he explains things. And he made 20 videos, and each video he would take a topic. Let's say one video was about hypertension, and he spoke about hypertension in like 2 hours and 30 minutes. He really gives you a good overview of the whole thing, and he gives you details. It's very user friendly, I guess, that you could listen to heart sounds, you could look at pictures, While he's explaining, he gives questions which are pretty hard questions, and they're always very interactive. Like he can get videos of, like, say, Parkinson's, something like that, and yeah, so those videos are great. If you're going to do videos, do Kaplan and comprehensive cases, definitely. If you have time, do doctors in training. If you have even more time, then do the internal medicine board review. There are some videos that I heard about called Archer. I didn't do those, so I couldn't tell you anything about them. Alright, last thing in materials are the questions. Of course, you're going to hear a lot of times that doing questions is the most important thing for the USMLE, either step 1 or step 2. And yeah, questions are important, but I would never do questions without having studied the material first. I mean, I was not a great student in med school. My grades will always get جدا بالعافية. So I wasn't the studious type. I was, just coming before the test and cramming and just to pass, I guess. So the subjects were not in my head. I was not confident of the information that I had. So there was no way that after college or after MTS that I was going to go straight to questions, because I wouldn't know anything. So my advice, study and do questions. For me, they're both of equal importance. Alright, so first thing I did was first aid questions and answers. Completely different from the first aid book. This is a whole book of question and answers. And the good thing is that it's organized by chapters. Say cardiology by itself, nephrology by itself, dermatology by itself, and so on. So what I did was, with my first pass of studying, I would finish, let's say, cardiology, and then do the cardiology questions from first aid. I'd do pulmonology and then go do the questions. So I think that, because you can't study the whole material and then do questions, because by that time you're going to forget the things that you have studied in the beginning. But this way it gives you flexibility. You get to study and you get to do questions, and the questions really do they beat the information into your brain. You're not going to forget them, especially if you do a question wrong or something like that, and then you look at the answer and then you say, oh yeah, you're not going to forget that afterwards. So doing questions is great. Second thing, Kaplan Q book. Kaplan Q book is organized, let's say, internal medicine, surgery, OBGYN, and pediatrics. So whenever I finished a big section, let's say OBGYN, then I would go to Kaplan Q Bank and do those questions. Kaplan Q book, sorry. That's the book that is sold with the Kaplan books. Alright, then I did Kaplan Q Bank, and I finished it in about a month, in exactly 1 month actually. I don't remember what I got, but my impression was that Kaplan Q Bank, the questions are longer and more difficult than USMLE World. USMLE World is, in my opinion, more similar to the test, but still, because I had the time, I wanted to do both. And Kaplan Q Bank has some advantages over the USMLE World. They have interactive, how can I say this? Like, they have videos. If you do a question wrong and you press check the answer, in some of the questions, especially the more difficult questions, they have a video pop up and a doctor explain it to you by audio visual means. So I like that. I also found that the questions were more difficult than USMLE World, and I think that was one thing that made me do good on the test. But also USMLE World is more similar to the test. I think in general, it has like it's more similar to the test's question pool. So that's what I did right before the test. I did USMLE World. I finished USMLE World exactly 10 days before my actual exam. And I scored 84%, which is pretty good. I was pretty confident going into the test that I was going to do good. So yeah, USMLE World finished in a month. Okay. Also, to assess yourself, you have to assess yourself periodically by doing questions, and questions very similar to the ones that are on the test. So the best, I think, predictive value of how you're going to do on the test is by doing an NBME. These you can find offline that you don't have to pay for. I did those, but I also did one or two that I paid for on online, because then it gives you like your percentage, your 3-digit score, and it tells you how much you got right on each subject. So it shows you what your weaknesses are so that you can further focus on them. So my advice is at least do one NBME that is paid online, because the values really are predictive. In step 2, I did an NBME 1.5 months before the test, and I got a 253. So the NBME, it states that their values are plus or minus 5 if you take the test within 2 weeks. So I studied for an extra 1.5 months, and I was killing myself when I was studying. So my grades reached much higher than 253. But let's say on my step 1 exam, I took the NBME exactly 6 days before my actual exam. I got a 254 on the NBME, and I got a 253 on the actual step 1 exam. So it is very predictive. Do not go into the test without doing an NBME, because I have friends who were studying for months, for 5 or 6 months, and he had his test like in another month, and I asked him how he's doing. He said he's doing okay. So I told him to be sure, take an NBME. He did not do good on the NBME, and that didn't put him down. He was happy that he knew where he stood, so he delayed his test, and later he did much better than what he did on the first NBME. But you have to assess yourself. Another way is by doing the UWorld assessment. In step 2, I did it 2 weeks before the test, and I got a 265 plus, which I think is the highest thing on the UWorld assessment. So by those 2 things, I knew that I was going to do good on the test. Alright, next. انت دلوقتي عامل زي وانا في الصورة دي، متلخبط من كل حاجة. هي حاجة تخوف في اليو اس ام ال، بس if you tackle it one by one, take it step by step, don't rush, you're gonna do okay. And the next couple of slides, I'm going to give like my idea of some answers and tips of how to overcome the difficulty of the USMLE. Step 2, CK in particular. You have to give yourself enough time to study. Do not rush yourself. I don't care what your excuse is. You're telling me that I don't know, whatever, that if you don't finish your USMLE in 6 months, then you're never going to do it, or that you have to finish it before you finish MTS, or whatever. Timelines are always good, but you have to use a realistic timeline. And if you assess yourself while you're studying, then and you find yourself that you're not up to par, you're not where you want to be, delay. There is no shame in delaying. If you delay because you got a bad score on what you used for your assessment, then be sure that you're going to get a better score next time you do it. Alright. You have to be ready 100%, mentally, emotionally, physically, when you take the test, because the test is demanding, to say the least. Second thing, you have to take the USMLE very seriously and make it your number one priority. Some people, my friends, they want to take the USMLE and work at the same time, or they're in taklif at the same time. I tell them, if you can get out of that, if you can get out of work or you can get out of taklif, then please do. You have to focus on the USMLE. And if you can't, if you really need to work, if you need to go to taklif, whatever, you have to take at least 2 months before the test, you have to take them completely off to focus. Another thing, that if you're doing a lot of things at the same time, you have to be able to multitask. I, for one, I know that I'm not good at multitasking, so I put the USMLE as my number one priority and only priority at that time. You also have to take this time to improve your knowledge on all fronts. Meaning what? In America, when you come to apply to interview a residency, they don't only look at your USMLE scores. They look at you as a person. They want a well-rounded person. That's what program coordinators always tell me. They want somebody who is smart, who is a hard worker, who has extracurricular activities. They're in shape. They watch what they eat. They have hobbies. They sing. They dance. They whatever. But you have to come in front of them as a person, not just a nerd that does nothing else but studying. Okay. Constantly evaluate yourself objectively, and I touched on this when I was talking about the NBMEs and U-World assessment. You have to assess yourself objectively. There's subjective and there's objective. Subjective is what you feel. Objective is the facts, what there really is. So you can't say that, oh yeah, I've been studying so hard for the last 6 months that I'm going to do really well on the test. You cannot say that. You need to assess yourself. Yeah, you may feel that you have studied enough. You may have actually studied enough, but you might not have done enough questions. Your timing might be completely wrong. You might get nervous before the test and flunk the test just because you got nervous. You have to evaluate yourself objectively. You have to put yourself in the test even before that. Like while I was doing USMLE World, I would do 8 blocks right after each other with a 45 minutes break, and I would stick to that to see, because after 4 or 5 blocks you really start feeling fatigued, at least in the beginning. When you do that a couple of times, then it gets better, and you get an idea about how well you're going to do on the test. Everything to do with the USMLE, always objective, never subjective. Okay? Number 4, I guess. Take an English course. If your English is not as good as an American, please take an English course. And I mean vocabulary, I mean pronunciation, I mean grammar, I mean writing skills. English courses are good. It's not a waste of time. It's going to help you in every level on your way to going to America. You're going to be faster on the exam. Your timing is going to improve greatly because you're going to be reading much faster. And you're on the Step 2 CS, the clinical skills exam. A lot of people fail that exam because their English is not good enough. They're great on everything else, but their English is not good. They fail that exam because their English is not good enough. Don't make that a reason for you to fail. English courses are available, they're everywhere, and you can, like, it's an outing. You meet new people, you get to go out, you get to take a little time off. It's never like studying for the USMLE, okay? It's light. It'll also help you in your interviews and in your residency or your future in the US in general. You can't have a heavy accent and go to, I don't know, a town in southern US where they're all rednecks and expect them to accept you. You have to have good English. Alright. Timing. As I said before, you have to master the timing. I think I read somewhere that a question in step 2, you have exactly 1 minute and 18 seconds to do. That's 78 seconds. So you have to get your questions down to that. If you can do it faster, that's great. But while doing the Q banks, either Kaplan Q bank, USMLE World Q bank, or any other Q bank, you have to do it in timed mode. In the beginning, okay, if you want to do tutor mode, that's fine. But you have to have at least 3 weeks practice in timed mode to get your blocks, to make sure that you finish each block, which is I think 44, 46 questions each block. You have to finish it within that hour. One question less than 80 seconds. You have to finish it like that. And as I said before, you should practice whole tests. Like in the step 2 CK, the whole test is 8 blocks plus 45 minutes or a 1 hour break. Practice that. Put yourself in the test at home on USMLE World. Do the blocks right after each other. Take breaks as you would take in the test. Wake up, I think the test starts at 9. Wake up at 8. Start preparing yourself. Close the room and tell nobody to disturb you and do the test. Have water, have a sandwich or chipsy or whatever you're going to take with you on the day of the test. You have to get your mind prepared for the test. Alright. Study partners. Personally, I think it's a good idea. I like studying with somebody. I think it makes me concentrate more and it makes me concentrate longer. Because if you're in front of a book, let's face it, like an hour and a half, 2 hours maximum of sitting in front of the book, you start to get bored. If you're with a study partner, you could stay 3, 4, 5 hours without having to take like a major break. Yeah, every now and then you're going to, talk a little outside of the USMLE together, but that's not a big deal. They keep you going, and I feel that when I explain something to somebody, it always sticks after that. And let's say I'm explaining congestive heart failure to somebody, and I come to a point where I can't explain it to him or her. That means that I don't have enough knowledge in this specific point. Like, I'm explaining congestive heart failure and I'm doing great, and then I come at the treatment and I start pausing and thinking and stuff like that. No, after that I go and read it from the book, and then it will stick. So I like study partners, either real people, either on Skype. What I don't like to do is study with somebody that I know really well. Like, I cannot study with good friends, because we're really going to just keep talking, go out, نروح نشايش أي حاجة, but we're not going to study. So preferably somebody that you don't know so well, or There are lots of forums on the USMLE that I use to get people to study with me from all over the globe. Like, if you want to study with somebody from America, go ahead. If you want to study with somebody from India, Pakistan, whatever. So give that a try. Number 8, yes. Different sources, but only revise from one book. Okay, this is my opinion. You do not have to take by it. A lot of people like to study from only one book, and that's it. They memorize that book, and that's it. For me, what I did, and what I like to do, even when I was in college, is study from different books. Not to read the same information said in the same sequence, in the same way, hundreds of times. I like to read it once from here, once from there, once from the internet. Any source that is available to me, I use. But importantly, on the USMLE, because the exam, like let's say step 2 CK, the exam is on internal medicine, surgery, OB-GYN, pediatrics, psychiatry. It's about the last 2.5 years in med school. It's huge. The amount of information that you're going to need in that one exam is huge. So for revision, only use one book. I used Master the Boards. You can use whatever you want, but it has to be complete. Like I said before, take notes and stick them into the book that you're going to revise from. Either from other books that you read, either from the videos, if there's something extra, put it in the book, either from the question banks. And please, while you're doing the question banks, while you're looking at the answer, if you don't know it or you're not familiar with it, go to the book. If it's not in the book, put it in the book. Sticky notes, add pages, do whatever you want, but it has to be in the book. And please don't make a mess of the book, because at the end, if the book's all torn and you highlighted 1700 times with different colors, you're not going to be able to study from that book. هتقفلك. So keep the book clean, but make sure it has everything. So when you need it, you find it. Alright. Another thing that I wanted to add, I think, oh yeah, here it is. Okay, so you make notes of the things that you have difficulty with. Let's say glycogen storage diseases, renal tubular acidosis, anything that really bugs you. And especially for me, I'm not good with memorization. I could understanding is much easier for me, but some things in medicine you can't just understand. You have to memorize. Glycogen storage diseases, the mucolipose polysaccharidosis that I can't even pronounce yet. All those things, keep them in notes and have them ready the day before your test. Because what I did is I revised from my notes the day before the test. I didn't do anything else. And please don't make like 500, 600 pages of notes, because you're never going to be able to cover all of that the day before your test. Keep them specific. If you know for a fact that you're going to forget this, put it in the notes. My notes, I think, were about like 30, 40 pages maximum. Most of it was like the things I told you about, plus the what's it called, biostatistics, all the equations, all the tables, all that bullshit. It's not bullshit. I mean, it is very important, and I'm glad that I have a better understanding of those things, because in modern medicine these things are very, very important, but still I find them hard to grasp. So that's what most of my notes were. But everybody's different. You're good with biostatistics, don't put it in the notes. Put something that you're not good. Alright. نريح شوية ونبتسم مع بعض. كفاية كده عليكم. So tips. These are just random things that I thought of. to share with you. And yeah, so enjoy studying. First one. A lot of people are laughing now. A lot of people are snickering. I thought it was impossible too especially when I started studying, and I started with step one. So doing biochemistry and histology and all that stuff, that was torture for me. So I was really having a difficult time when I started. And if you're starting with step two and you're just starting and you're listening to this video, then it's probably pretty hard for you too. And you don't think that you can enjoy studying. But personally, right now, I do. I don't enjoy studying, but it's something that has become a habit that I have to read every day, even if I'm not studying something new. Even if I'm not studying something like 100% medical, anything, the news, something related to medicine, not politics or anything like that. But try to make it enjoyable. Try, and you're going to do that with time. I mean, now I'm addicted to questions. I still answer like Kaplan Q Bank or USMLE World Q Banks online with people, step 2, step 1 even, because I like doing questions. I feel like it stimulates my brain, and I enjoy it. I do. So that's that. Please do not study for the USMLE like you studied for a test in the Egyptian system. نظام الكليات في مصر ان تكتب essays ولا الشفوي ولا الحاجات ديت، يعني طبعا ما اعرفش لو هي عك ولا لا، but that's not the USMLE. Okay, you have to study for the USMLE, and by a different way completely from the Egyptian system. You have to use certain tools that you did not use while studying for an Egyptian test. For example, what are they called? Mnemonics. Mnemonics and the USMLE, I like them, and I got used to them. So mnemonics are good. You have to be able in the question stem to grab the concept or to grab the keyword, so you can finish the question. If you don't grab that keyword, you won't be able to finish the question. So focus on keywords, on mnemonics, and in general, I can't explain exactly, but the USMLE studying for it is completely different than any test you have ever taken in your life. So don't just sit and memorize and take the test, because I doubt you would do good. Alright, next. And this is an important point. Don't waste your time improving a 255 to a 285. Okay? So if you are studying, no matter how long you're studying for, and you take an NBME and you find that you've gotten 260, please don't say that I want to get a 285 or a 290. Okay? Yes, it is impressive if you get a very high score like that, but when applying to residency programs, there are no programs who have a cutoff of more than 250. While I was searching to match and residency programs and all stuff like that, each individual program have different requirements. So a lot common requirements are scores, that they will not look at your application if you did not get a certain score. Usually the scores are either passing score or something like 200, 205, 210, stuff like that. I'd say those account for 80-85% of the programs. Only I think 2 programs or 3 programs, I'm talking about internal medicine because those are the ones that I searched. I don't know about surgery, I don't know about OB-GYN, I don't know about family medicine. I have only searched internal medicine. But no more than 2 programs in the whole of America had a requirement of more than 250. Okay, so at least if you're aiming for internal medicine, above 250, yes, it's impressive, but it's not going to get any more interviews that you wouldn't have got if you had just got a 255. And also, I heard today while I was listening to a video that during your interview they cross out your scores from your application because they don't want to be biased. If you got a 290, that they might be biased in your favor. If you got, let's say, a 200, that they're going to be biased against you. They're not going to want you. But the whole thing about the interview is to see your personality, not your scores. Your scores were good enough to get you an interview in that program. Now they're looking at personality and how well you will fit into their program. So that's it. What else? Focus on other things. Now, I talked briefly about this before, and I'm just going to go over it now. Each one of these points, there are videos on IMTAR and lots of information online how to get them, how to do them, and they are all very important. Okay, scores are not the only thing. Yes, they are important, but they are not everything. If you have really good scores and no US clinical experience, you're not going to get as many interviews as somebody who has good scores but has done, let's say, 6 months US clinical experience. Okay, so it's balanced. So the first thing is training, and when I say training, I mean US clinical experience. Of course, training in Egypt or any other country is good, but they, in America, especially while applying to residency, they want to be able to compare you to people who had graduated from American schools. For example, they want to compare oranges to oranges. They don't want to compare oranges to apples. And because we are from a foreign country and they have no idea about our medical training, they do not know our curriculum, they do not know anything about it, that we have to provide that base for them to compare us to the American graduates. So US clinical experience is very important. And as I said before, and I'll repeat this because I think it's very important, because I did not know this during college or doing MTS. When you're in college or MTS, you can get electives in America. Okay, you have to look for them. It takes a lot of work and it costs money, at least to get to America and stay wherever your elective came for a month or 2 or whatever, how long you've got. But it is worth it. If you are looking, if your plan is really to get to America, you need, in my opinion, at least some US clinical experience. And while you're in college and in MTS, you can do electives, which are great. They are hands-on. They carry much more weight. يعني أهم بكتير من observership, which is the only thing that you can do after you finish college and finish MTS. So for me, when I look back, I lost my golden window, which was that period of time that I did not know about this, and therefore I did not go to America and do electives. Other than that, لما كنت في الكلية كنت طلعت تابع تبادل طلاب، ورحت المكسيك ورحت سلوفينيا، هيصت طبعا، ولا كان في دماغي حتى مذاكرة USMLE إن أنا أحسن مستواي العلمي، لا، فسحة. So if you have the chance and you have the money and you really want to go to America, please do some US clinical experience while still in college. Other training could mean like that you have done a residency program in Egypt or in your own country. I think that is a plus. Of course, it's a minus because that generally means that you're going to be older than a fresh graduate. You're not going to be a fresh graduate. You'll have at least 4 or 5 years, I guess, postgraduate, which is a minus. But at the same time, you're going to have taken that specialty before, so it is a plus. Let's say if somebody takes Niabit cardiology in Alexandria or in Cairo or in Egypt in general, and then goes to America, finishes that successfully, and then goes to America and applies for internal medicine, they will want that person because he has at least 3 years of experience in cardiology, which any program would want. That person is more mature and has a lot more knowledge and a lot of more experience than any of the fresh graduates that they can get. So, and they'll be starting from uh, zero, I guess, which is right after medical school. Okay, next thing, research. Research is important. They focus on it in America, and it's most important when that research is published um, in a peer-reviewed journal or article or something like that. Of course, if you can publish in like New England Journal of Medicine or JAMA or anything like that, that would be great. But a lot of stuff that is done in Egypt are not published there, but they can be published in journals that are in Egypt. I have no idea what journals are in Egypt because I did only a small amount of research that was not published, unfortunately. Because also I didn't know that research had such weight on getting me to the US. So if you can do research and start early, I mean, not because you're a medical student in the fourth or fifth or sixth year, it's not too early to be doing research. In America, they do research even before med school, so they have a really big advantage over us. And in college, at least for me, I had no uh, intention, or nobody told me about research or how important it is, not only for the USMLE but as a physician. Physicians, I think now when I think of it, uh, that we have an obligation to not only spread medical knowledge but to improve it. I mean, if we all stop and just practice medicine, do no research, then we're not going to go anywhere. We're not going to get any better. So research is a very important part of being a physician. Volunteer work. I talked a little about that before, like Rotary, Rotaract, medical convoys, uh, serving in clinics in underserved areas is the word that they like in America. And of course يعني كل الحاجات اللي احنا بنعملها هنا underserved area. هذا من جامعة اسكندرية، بنروح مستشفى الميري ديت يعني underserved بطريقة بشعة. بس you can't say that, so you do more, you try to volunteer more. Another thing is work. If after you graduate and after you finish MTS you want to work, by all means go ahead, but please do not let work come in between you and getting to the US. Don't let it be your primary focus. Always keep the USMLE your number one, because if you don't, trust me, you're not going to go anywhere. Last thing, hobbies. As I said, they want well-rounded people, and they want people. They don't want zombies or nerds or geeks or whatever. They want people who understand what's going on around them. They want people who have other interests, that don't sleep over at the hospital and just only think about medicine. They want people who are intelligent, bright, good conversation skills, good non-verbal communication and all that stuff. They want decent people to treat their patients with respect, and compassion. Alright, so hobbies. I think it is a pretty important point in anybody's life to have hobbies. I mean, we have our profession, which is medicine, and but we also need to look at other things. We cannot be consumed by medicine, and by hobbies I don't mean like watching movies and things that you uh, don't give any effort to do. Hobbies is like music, learn an instrument, sing, do anything. Sports, of course, is important, keeps you in shape, and everybody likes somebody who's good at a sport. Learn different languages. I think that's good. In America, they like people who speak Spanish, especially, and that's one of the reasons that I took Spanish. Especially if you're working in something like New York, you, half the city is like Latin American. So Spanish, and it is a requirement actually on some programs. Uh, Not a requirement exactly per se, but it's a big plus if you do speak Spanish, because you're going to be dealing with a lot of people who speak only Spanish. So you have to have an idea about that. If you're into photography, if you're into crafts, like anything. If you're into computers, like if you can fix computers, or if you can make really good presentations and graphics and stuff like that, then that is a plus. Alright, after that. Now, many of you are wondering why I put this picture here. We've come to the exam section. So when you come before your exam, you're going to need a girl like this cheering you on. So that's the only reason. Alright, so now we'll talk about the week before the exam. Of course, like the month before the exam, I think it's important to do questions the month before the exam. Okay? And you should finish your Q bank or stop doing questions about 7 to 10 days before the exam. I felt that that helps. You don't do a new question, or at least I didn't. I didn't do any new questions the week before the exam. I just revised, because if you're doing questions, yeah, you're covering a lot of topics, but you're not covering everything. In that week before the exam, or those 10 days, what I did is I revised the whole syllabus from Master the Boards, plus the notes that I had written, and also because I know that I'm weak in psychiatry and bio statistics and ethics. I revised those. I actually watched the Kaplan videos again. Dr. Doherty is a great guy, I guess, and I watched the whole videos from psychiatry that week, plus revising from Master Boards. Take an NBME, it'll show you where you're at. If you're not happy with your score, please delay the exam. Again, it's not too late. It's better to pay, I don't know, $150, I think it was, to delay the exam than to take it when you're not ready. If you take it when you're not ready, you're not only paying the $950 for the exam, but you're also going to limit yourself with that score that you get. Alright, so please do not take the exam unless your grade on the NBME is the grade you want to get, because you're going to get that grade, plus or minus 5. You need to relax. You're going to need to relax, and I know that is difficult for a lot of people the week before the exam, but it is extremely important. Stress makes a lot of people lose focus, lose concentration, and they do bad on the test just because they were anxious or nervous during the exam. So find a way that makes you relax, and perfect it and do it that week before the exam and the day before the exam especially. If you can, try to get some exercise. I did that. I just took walks. I mean, I wasn't going to the gym and doing weights and stuff like that, but I would take a walk for about half an hour, 45 minutes a day to get the blood going. It's very important to get enough sleep and to make your sleep the same as the test. I mean, if you're going to wake up at 8 on the day of the test, the month before that, you're supposed to get up at 8 every day. Not getting up at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, because the day of the test you're either gonna oversleep and miss the test, or you're not gonna get any sleep and then you fall asleep during the test. So neither of those is good. Alright, the day before the test, of course, you have to reserve a hotel way in advance. So, and you know where you're staying, unless of course if you live in Cairo, then you know where the test center is, so you don't have to get the hotel, obviously. The day before the test, if you're in a strange city like I took mine in Cairo, so I left the hotel that I was staying at and I walked to the test center to give me an idea how long it was going to take me in the morning to get there, and to make sure I know the directions. I don't want it to, before the test, get lost and start asking people where Amethyst is and nobody knows where it is, and then I miss the test. So get an idea where the test center is and visit it. And what I did is I went up there and asked them, are you the test center? Yes. What do I do tomorrow? What do I bring? Stuff like that. Revise your notes. The day before the test, you have to relax. That is your number one goal. I went to Ahwa, I went to the cinema, I went swimming in the pool in the hotel. Anything that makes you relax, makes you forget about the test, do it. Alright? Get enough sleep. The exam is 9 hours in total. Believe me, you're going to feel exhausted during the exam. If you do not sleep, that's really bad. Okay, even if you drink coffee, even if you drink Red Bull, there's no good substitute for sleep. So please get enough sleep. You're gonna wake up at probably 7:30. Please go to sleep before 12. And of course, stop worrying. By the day before the test, also, I want you to start thinking objectively, because now you're going to have the test the next day. But for the last 5, 6, 7, 8 months, you've been preparing for that day. Okay? And you've done questions, you studied, you watched the videos, you've assessed yourself objectively with NBMEs and the USMLE World Assessment. You have an idea of how you're going to do. Okay? There's nobody that would get, let's say, a 260 on the NBME and go in the next day and get a 220. I mean, it's just not possible, unless they fall asleep in the test or something happens. But it's not possible to drop like 40 points. Okay? Maximum drop, I'd say, if you take an NBME in the 2 previous weeks, the maximum drop is 5 points. So don't worry. You have the information in your brain. You've done all what you needed to do. Just do the test and be confident. Be confident that you'll do good. That's it. Day of the test. Wake up early. Make sure you have everything. Please don't forget your passport, your test ID. I don't remember what that paper was called exactly, but don't forget it. Get your food, get your drinks. In Egypt, of course, land of the free, they have like a little cafeteria right above the test center, so that's good. I went during the breaks, had a Nescafe, had tea, stuff like that. But also take some food with you at least, and some drinks. Take coffee. I took a Red Bull. I'm not used to drinking Red Bull or anything, but I feel like that helped me a little. It does make you focus and a little bit better. So, but don't go overboard, especially if you don't drink it a lot like me. Don't go overboard and drink like 5 or 6 of them right before the test, because you're stuck gonna have like tremors, and your eyes are gonna be popping out of your head, stuff like that. Dress warm, especially in Cairo. My step one, I did it in America, in California, and it wasn't cold over there. But in Cairo, I was freezing. I went with shorts and a t-shirt and some flip-flops, and that's it. And during the test, I was really cold. Actually had to leave the test room because I started getting so cold that it was bothering me. I would go down and just stand in the sun, and people were looking at me like I'm crazy. But you do what you gotta do. But if you're going to take the test, especially in Cairo, take a sweater, even if you're in August, which was when my test was. So it's cold. Please do not wake up at like 5 in the morning and start studying, or even revising your notes, whatever. Uh, this is test day. Focus, concentrate on the task that you have ahead of you. You've been studying for 6 to 8 to 9 maybe months. That's it. If you study for 2 hours in the morning, it's not going to make any difference, and especially it's going to disorient you. You already have a 9 hour day where your brain has to be working at 110%. If you ruin that by getting up early, first of all, you're losing sleep. You're starting to study. You're going to be anxious. What if you run into something that you don't remember? You're gonna be like, oh, how could I forget this? Stuff like that. So please don't stress yourself even more before the test. In the actual exam, they give you a whiteboard that you can use. I like that. I wrote the biostatistics equations right after the tutorial. I just jotted them down, so I don't have to start thinking about them while during the question. What else? So yeah, I think that's here we go. During the test, you have to watch your time carefully. Please do not leave anything unanswered. If you don't know something, leave it to the end of the block, and if you still don't know it, pick the answer. Pick any answer. You have at least a good chance, probably 20-25%, that it's going to be right, and just move on. Do not keep thinking about it. Do not keep focusing on it, even in the same block. If you want, mark the question, and if you finish the whole block and there's time to spare, go back to it. But don't keep thinking about it. If you leave the question and are on other questions, please keep your mind focused on the question in hand. Do not keep thinking about the one that you think you did wrong or that you don't know. Okay? The test is 350 questions, I think. You're bound to get something wrong, and there's nothing you can do about it. Nobody gets all 350 right. So it's a way of life. Just keep going at it. Also relax during the test. I don't know how, but do it. And as I said before, you have studied, and you have studied enough, and you have assessed yourself, and you know where you're supposed to be at. And now you're just regurgitating information onto the computer. That's it. You're applying what you've learned over the past few months. It is not something new. And be sure that this test is fair, okay? There's not going to be any bias. If you did it something right, it's going to give you it right, okay? Not like in Egypt, الكوسة والمعرفة والنسايب والحبايب والكلام ده، مفيش الكلام ده. So you're going to get based on how much you studied, based on how much you controlled yourself and didn't become nervous. Okay, that's about it. Uh, is there anything else? Oh yeah, a request. This is a personal request from me. I want anybody who is doing the USMLE to spread the knowledge, not only medical knowledge, but if you know anyone struggling in med school, as everybody struggles in med school, tell them about the USMLE. Okay, give them some hope. Give them the USMLE materials. Like looking back, if I had got the videos of step 2 while I was in Sana Khamsa or Sana Satta, while I was doing internal medicine and Garaha and all that stuff, I would have watched those videos. I mean, those videos are much, in my opinion, better quality than the lectures that we have in college. At least I'm talking about my experience in Alexandria University. But it is, in my opinion, better. It's all in English. These are the things that you really need to know coming out of med school. Not every doctor's whim, like doctors in nephrology like to focus on some really detailed stuff that you're never gonna need to know if you just practice as a general practitioner or an internist. It's just that they did their magister in that subject, so they are comfortable with it and they explain it. So it is what you need to know. The USMLE is what you need to know, and it gives it to you in a way that is not disgusting. So please give them those things. Tell them about Kaplan, tell them about first aid, tell them about Master the Boards, give them the videos, and help them form a plan for their future, especially if they want to work outside Egypt. Okay, yeah, that's about it. That's my request to anybody who's still listening after all this time. So, I guess that's it for me today. Have fun, study good, and remember, it's not about luck. This is all personal effort. Okay? Alright, see you guys later. Bye bye.